what in the world is this? How do you even conceptualize these approaches? I mean, I really don't want to dig deep into it, but I believe these people are an absolute disgrace to the motorcycling world of our country. You fly my tricolor with honor.
Hello and welcome back to today's special podcast. We have a very special guest today, and if you guys can guess who has joined us in our special podcast, so I'll not say anything on to Vikas bhai, and you'll find out who is with us in this special podcast.
Thank you, Joe. So, Deepak Kamath sir, welcome to the podcast. Now, every one of us knows what Deepak sir has been doing for many years now. And I met Deepak sir in the year 2017 in Chirapunji. And that was the first time I met him and got to know so much about what he did in the past. Well, I was born in the 1980s, and I believe Deepak sir actually did an international ride on a scooter. That is correct?
On a motorcycle, international was first cycling back in '89, and then
Wow.
I believe the world is so big that there is no time to cycle around the world. I mean, that's my personal perspective towards
True.
travel. Yeah.
And then you went somewhere on a scooter, correct? Could you let me know about that?
Uh, s- Not really, Vikas. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any escapades on scooter,
Mm-hmm.
but I know for a fact that I remember for a fact that mom had bought me a Bajaj Chetak because I got some good marks in my school exams.
Hmm.
So she used to be a bank employee, and in those days, Bajaj Chetak was like a hot cake.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, and there was a way to get the scooter out of turn, and that was by booking in dollars. So since she was a bank employee, she was able to figure out a way to arrange for that 500 US dollars, and that's the way she booked the Bajaj Chetak, and CKQ 2436 came into our house, and I
Lovely.
got to ride it. I honestly, like scooter's not my cup of cake. I mean the wheelbase and so
True.
many things around which really did not. I mean, of course, like, and in those days, I remember most of the youngsters that I used to roam around with, my friends, the affinity was more towards motorcycles.
Yep.
And I started hounding my mom that, like, mom, everybody's riding a motorcycle. Why am I riding a scooter?
Hmm.
And I remember in Bangalore, one of the uh, a Yamaha Motor Corporation dealer, Pacer Corporation, So I remember going to them and getting an invoice of that RX 100 authentic Yamaha,
Lovely.
about 18,000 rupees ka, the pro forma.
Which year was
I
that?
This was, if I remember right, was sometime in 89, 90,
Wow.
89, I guess, just about the time when these 100 cc's were making a lot of noise.
Purchasing power
And
parity 18,000 rupees in 19,
89 or 90,
89
yeah.
is equal to, I'm sure it's like, 5 or 6
You
lakh
add
rupees
another
today.
zero there.
Oh, way more, 20, 30 times more, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So,
So, yeah, and then she said, like, that's way out of my budget. But what she did was she took me to her colleague's house. And there, a 1979 Model B SD was parked.
lovely.
And he had offered to sell it for about 8,000 rupees. Well, for me, it was a motorcycle. That was the
Yep.
biggest satisfaction. And trust me, like when parents think on these lines, I mean, it's always for the good, right? And look at me, like what have I done on the SD?
Yep.
1990, that machine came into our home, and then I've not looked back in my travels. Yeah.
All right. So it was on the YSD that you did your first international ride, correct?
Yes, yes. ESD
Yeah.
1990 is when that machine came into my house, and then I developed a good friendship with a mechanic very close to my place, and he's still a good friend of mine even till date. Something that I
Lovely.
cannot tell for everybody. We bonded very well. He's 10 years elder to me, but the thinking and the way we you know bonded over the machine was phenomenal. So Ideal Java was like, Ideal Java were the manufacturers of those motorcycle, and they were just behind, just backdoor in Mysore, which is just about
Lovely.
120, 130 kilometers from my place. And a good friend's father saw the kind of commitment or the go-getting attitude that I had in me. And he helped realize my first ride. The Ideal Java guys did up the entire machine and gave it to me. And my friend's father, supported in whichever form we wanted. And Baswaraj and me, like we took the roads from Bangalore towards Srinagar and Sonmarg and came back because the roads were closed. And from there, we came down to Dehradun, went towards Varanasi, went to Kathmandu, and came back to Bangalore.
Lovely. Which
And
year was this?
this was 1991.
Wow.
And immediately I told the kind folks in Ideal Java, I said, like, this is something really interesting. So, do you think I can do a record ride, start from Kanyakumari and go all the way to Kardungla and create a record as the fastest ride? I mean, I was what, 21 in
Wow.
those years. So the
And what
Josh
were you
element,
doing that time, sir?
91, I was just about, I think I had finished my college. 86 to 91 were my college days, and I was just out of college, and this bug was there to travel around the country. And I
Lovely.
remember 91 was CNA 637. That's the registration number of the motorcycle which was loaned to me from Ideal Java R&D. And my partner Baswaraj and me went down to Kanyakumari, and and at midnight we started from Kanyakumari and wound ourselves all the way to Manali and via Sarchu took to the Khardungla Pass. The first ride and the second ride was within a gap of 100 days.
Wow.
And Khardungla was done in absolute style. I mean, like in those days, we used to have paper maps. It was a
Correct.
TTK published book, which was this small. And each state had very meticulous road signs, and that was Google in those days.
True. And
And we came down to Kathmandu and came back to Hyderabad, and we finished in Bangalore, 11,180 kilometers in
wow.
267 hours. And that got us published in the Limca Book of Records with the
Lovely.
picture in the
Yes.
1995 edition, 1991 edition. Now, to your question about the international ride, I must say that in 1991, there were people, and I will take names here.
Yeah.
Saluddin and Neena Chaudhary from Calcutta zipped around the world in about 53 days
Wow. Okay.
on a Hindustan Contessa. Around the same time, after they had finished claiming their records with the Guinness, there's an adventure team in Britain called the British Army. They beat Saluddin's record by 40 days or somewhere around. I might get the days wrong here, so don't hold
Yeah.
me to
That's
the
fine.
days. But
Yeah.
but I'm telling you the chronology of people who were zipping around the world.
Yeah.
So first it was Saluddin and Neena Chaudhary, then the British Army, then Saluddin again broke their record by using a Mitsubishi Lancer and did it in about 38 or 39 days. And Navin Kapila and his team from Delhi, there were three people who drove the Contessa and beat Saluddin's record, and eventually went on to claim the world record of fastest to circumnavigate the world
Wow.
across all the 6 continents, or probably, I'm not sure how the records were done, but
Yeah.
the stipulation from Guinness, when I approached them, they sent me a guideline which was applicable to the cars, and which read, you need to do 1,000 miles in each continent. Get this straight, 1,000 miles in each continent, 1,600 kilometers. The total distance covered should be the length of the equator, that is about 25,000 miles, 40,070.03 kilometers. And you should not be using the same road twice. Just because you like Bangalore, Hyderabad, you can't be doing up and down.
Got it.
So you need to go to Bangalore to Hyderabad and move on. So those were the guidelines. And crossing continents, you can use your, whatever fastest, or those are neutral days. Those are switched off.
Got it.
So having tasted, the beautiful success of having done the fastest in India, and getting ourselves into the record books.
And that time, I would like to, emphasize on the fact that time, Linka Book of Records was
Was the Guinness,
correct.
was almost, I mean, I'm not sure how they stand today, because there are so many, record books that are in publication. But in those days, I remember it was the Guinness for the world, and for our country, we had this Limca Book of Records, and Miss
Correct.
Vijaya Ghosh was the editor, and I've had so much of very nice conversation with her, and she guided me as to like how to maintain the logs and all those things, which earned us the record of getting into the record books in 1991.
Yeah.
But since we were attempting for a world record, my communication was with the Guinness, and though it was fairly slow, but in those days, it was fax and sending post and like communicating. I mean, we didn't have anything like what internet is today.
Correct.
And when we eventually got the guidelines which was stipulated for cars, I reached out to the kind folks in ESD, now late Mr. Temton Irani, and the current investor with Classic Legends, who has revived the brand of Javas and ESDs along with Mr. Anand Mahindra, Mr. Boman Irani. I reached out to him because he was more dynamic in taking decisions. And I said, hey, Boman, let's do this. I'm going to do around the world in 60 days.
Wow.
So his initial reaction was, are you nuts? 10 days I chewed his brains. And he said, okay, let's do it. So the plan to circumnavigate the world across all the 6 continents was conceptualized in 1991 and eventually became a reality in 1994. Now, why this gap? 1991, I was chasing sponsors. 92, I was chasing sponsors. Castrol came on board, Seat came on board, but still it was the magic number of a sponsorship amount was still not there. 93, I lost my mom, so that year got neutralized. And 94, finally, I said, like, come what may, because Dilnaz Anklesaria from Castrol, she eventually retired as the head of marketing or whatever her designation was. But she was, when she agreed to come on board on 91, the agreement stayed on to 92, 93, and 94. Hence, the ESD Castrol Continental Raid was born. Seat came on board, Timex watches came on board as our official timekeepers, Canara Bank were my official bankers, because we needed a bank guarantee and dollars and so many other things that needed to be in place from a documentation perspective. Add-on horns, I mean, they are not existent now. I mean, they came on board. And Crompton Greaves batteries, I'm not sure how many of you guys know that they were one of the pioneers in manufacturing. And the kind of machine that we had, the SD was really, we put together a lot of effort to make an unbreakable bike, and true to its name, which is a forever bike, that just took every bit of the beating that we hammered. 42,038 kilometers in 47 days across all the 6 continents, Asia to Africa to Europe to North America to South America to Australia and back to India.
Wow.
And in times when Google was still in gestation. This I believe, I mean, unfortunately, I'm not so vocal on social media about I don't brag about these things because for us it was true adventure. I was 24,
Yeah.
my partner was 34, and the kind of support that we garnered across the continents where people, just made magic happen. I think that was amazing, absolutely amazing. I have some great stories about that ride of 1994,
Yeah.
but I'm not really sure whether we have that kind of a time on this platform.
We
Probably
will
for another
definitely
day.
touch, those points. But I have to, say this that today, uh, doing a world tour or today doing something which is so called an adventure, could be in a car, could be on a motorcycle, is probably 1,000 times easier compared to what it was in early 1990s. Because today, I simply have to take my credit card, and one credit card can get me across the world. If I can get my visa sorted. So, relatively, it is
And your
so much
visas are
easier,
also
right?
pretty easy now because today
Hmm.
Europe is a Schengen country,
Yeah,
27 countries under one umbrella. Imagine us
correct.
back 11 countries in Europe, and each country I had to work on getting my visas. And I'm not sure how many would even remember because 1994, Surat had plague. There was an
Hmm.
outbreak of plague in Surat, and no Indians were going out. Only perishables were being shipped out of the country. We fought all those, and in the amidst the fight of getting out of the country, my visa started lapsing.
Ah,
So then the Indian embassy in Egypt came to our rescue, and then we had to renew all our visas of Europe, of Australia, of Brazil. So many countries we had to renew on the go.
yeah.
As I said, 1994. I still believe. I mean, if a lot of people who ask me, which do
Yeah.
you think has been the most beautiful ride so far? I would say nothing like 1994.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there is, I mean, every single thing you had to do was analog. It was paperwork, you know.
Yeah.
Everything had to be sent across as a paper, as a
and,
booklet.
and and
Yeah.
maintenance of the logbook for the Guinness because
Correct.
Guinness was still wanting us to maintain those. And on a
Hmm.
motorcycle, like everything is, and we are two up on a 250cc air-cooled engine
Yeah.
with a car. It's a carbureted machine, right? I mean, we're not
Correct.
talking about today's electronics,
True.
So there's a lot of effort that went on to build the machine and
Yeah.
make sure that we there was only one go, and we had to do it right. I mean, riding a
Absolutely.
motorcycle is not a big deal. The preparation behind it to make sure that, like,
Correct.
you're not stopped at borders.
True.
Your bike doesn't break.
Yes.
Your spares are available in time for a general maintenance workaround. I mean, these
Correct.
things are important, right?
True.
And a lot of people ignore these things, and then trouble starts,
Correct.
spiking
And
up. Yeah.
just a fun fact that these days, most of the people even complain about the comfort of the modern day motorcycle seats, which are
Yeah.
very comfortable, by default, even a stock seat. So imagine those days going on a ride.
You will be surprised,
Yeah.
Vikas. Like probably I'll share a picture where like you can
Hmm.
bring in a insert. My motorcycle seat was done in such a way that
Hmm.
like we had to utilize every part of the motorcycle to make sure that we carried what we wanted.
Correct.
So we had designed a step seat, and the
Hmm.
rear seat had a small locker in it.
Hmm.
Where we used to keep some very critical tools and like
Yeah.
some cash hidden in the upper portion of the I mean, we've done so many things on that
Yeah.
machine, and I mean, that is what has been a success beyond any comparison. I don't think anybody anybody can claim that like this could have been done better or we did it another
True.
way. There are so many people who did it on an ASD and Royal Enfield in those days, but I believe when we attempted to do the circumnavigation of the world
Hmm.
in the most fastest time,
Yeah.
don't look beyond me and my partner, of course, and the SD. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, uh, simple one line, I would like to say that thinking about going around the world in early 1990s, even the thought is something which would put shivers into most of the people's brains, because it is something which was almost an impossible mission, to be very honest. So even imagining that was, I got to say, amazing, unbelievable job. So, and thank you for doing that,
Thank you.
because it is definitely an inspiration, because today, in today's world, where I have to say this, that today we are living in the most comfortable era ever. Everything gets delivered to your home, everything happens online, and uh, we also live in the richest era. Even an individual today can make more money than what many of the businesses used to make probably 20, 25 years ago in our country. And still, people are unhappy, people are depressed. Uh, so, considering the life that people have as an opportunity to live today and still are unhappy, I have to say that thank you for doing what you did those days, because it serves as an inspiration and serves as a fact that we got to
Impossible
be
is nothing.
resourceful. Yeah, we got to be resourceful and utilize every small aspect that is available to us to do what we want to do. So,
Yeah,
lovely.
absolutely.
So, and after that, did you take a break
So
from motorcycling?
94,
Yeah.
95, the 119 days starting from the 2nd of October 1994 to the 3rd of February 1995. And I eventually ended up working with the Ideal Java company for about a year and a half. But unfortunately, things were not really going their way because the 100cc onslaught was too strong for them to handle.
Mm-hmm.
And it eventually died a very painful death. The
Mm-hmm.
Ideal Java company completely shut down by
Mm.
96. And I was, Baman called me aside and said, like, hey, I think it's a good time for you to move on.
Mm.
Because he was more of a friend, a well-wisher, and he
Yeah.
could understand the insights of where the company was headed.
Mm.
And I came back to Bangalore, 96, I got married. So the responsibility of a family came in. So I
Yeah.
started focusing more on a lifestyle that I would want to have for me and my family. Did various jobs. I was in medical transcription. That was when
Mm.
the ITES industry started creeping in.
Yeah.
And very soon I got so bugged. I mean, it was kind of a monotonous job.
Mm.
I moved into farming. I went to Gorakhpur and
Wow.
I was
Okay.
a kennel manager in one of the largest kennels, which used to breed the Victorian Pomeranians, uh, and eventually became the GM farms of a 300-acre farm. But the mistake that I did was to take my family there with no concern
Mm-hmm.
or knowledge about the weather conditions in Gorakhpur.
Mm.
Now, Gorakhpur being at the foothills of the Himalayas,
Yeah.
the summer is going to creep into 44
Wow.
and the winter is going to come down to 4. And my daughter started getting asthmatic attacks and she was just not able to kind of cope up with that weather.
Yeah.
So consciously I said, like, no, nothing's more than the family, you know. And I looked at the map of India and said, like, damn, where do I go back? And I said, like, it's better to go back to a known devil than
Yep.
an unknown
Unknown devil.
angel.
Ah.
And
Mm.
and came back to Bangalore. And 2004 onwards, came back to Bangalore. I applied for a job with a financial institution, got into the entry level job, and worked myself up between 2005 to 2017.
Mm.
At which point in time, there were some leadership changes, and they said my role is going to get redundant in Bangalore, and I will have to apply in Hyderabad. I
All
said,
right.
guys, I'm not married to work. By which time, I was able to, say this because work and the kind of support that my family had provided and God's grace, definitely, I was able to say that I'm not married to work. I have a family back home and I cannot afford to move lock, stock, and barrel from a place where I have enough deep roots into a new place and
Correct.
start again. Now, this is something I tell people that, like 20 years, 1996 through 2015, I slogged like an there
Yeah.
was no motorcycle.
Yeah.
I ended up riding a kinetic Honda. When Baman did gift me he gave me a new Road King with the same number, MEY 3442. But, unfortunately, my financial situation was not that great. And I ended up selling that motorcycle. I scaled myself down to a kinetic Honda, keeping that, like family. A daughter was born in 98. So, I adapted. I evolved with the changes that were coming my way. And 2015 is when our daughter moved to a boarding to her studies in Chennai. And it was about the time when Benelli was getting launched. And with
Yeah.
all the posters in place, I fell in love with the 600i. But thanks to ex-BHP, these guys were doing a round India trip and they came down to Bangalore, and that's when I had a hands-on touch and feel of the machine. And I said,
Yeah.
600i is not my kind of bike. Old Fox was riding the, I'm sure motorcycle world in India knows who's Old Fox. He was riding the GT. And that was parked in one corner. There was no limelight on it. I'm not sure why Benelli were not actually promoting that bike. And I approached Old Fox and like had few questions. We exchanged a couple of emails and he said, it's a great machine, but it's a top heavy bike. I said, I can live with it because that's the lowest priced 600cc that I can get. I'm not really sure, like who else which other brand was selling a machine of that standard. But for me, and keeping in mind that we had built a home, this big, beautiful home, I was running 4 personal loans thanks to my financial institution, like a lot of permissible deviations were put in place. So I was hardly taking anything back home. So this came in, and when the 600i moved out and 600 GT came into focus, the difference was about 1.5 lakhs. And I did not have the bandwidth to, uh, change my EMI because there was no money. And that's when my wife came in and said, like, if not now, when? She kept a couple of
Wow.
lakhs on the table and said, like, let's go ahead and buy this machine. So
Wow.
sometime in June 2015, I picked up the 40th Bentley that was sold in the country. And that same year, I took my wife to Arunachal Pradesh and Bhutan. We rode from Bangalore. We did about 12,000 kilometers on the road and went across Bhutan and Arunachal Pradesh. 2016 was Sikkim and Nepal. And that was again another 12, 13,000 kilometer ride. So every time what I would do is I would ride and finish these places and send my wife back by flight from a convenient place. And then I would go to Delhi and then I would circle down to Pune and come down because I would want to, spend time with friends in Delhi, in Rajasthan, in Pune. And, taking that opportunity to having gone that far to explore some more
Yeah.
places around there.
How old
And
were you during that time?
I don't know. You figure out the math. I was 24 in 1994. I always tell people, age is a number.
True.
Like, see, it's that should not draw you down. Today
True.
I think I'm 53 or 54 or whatever that age is, but I still have that interest to do things which no Indians have done. And I say this
Yeah.
again, which no
Yeah.
Indians have done. And I look at my world map and say, like, okay, this is a place where I would love to fly my tricolor. And 2017 was a great break with Bajaj Dominar. I will take this opportunity to thank Shumi,
Yeah.
Shubhabrata Marmar, and Mr. Manish Tandon in Bajaj. Because when I approached so many of the so-called media and who were so closely connected with the automobile world,
Yeah.
nobody came up with any suggestions. But Shumi said, if there are anybody who I think can support you will be either Honda or Bajaj. I said, let me go with Bajaj because I've done some great things on the SD and I would love to have an Indian machine for the kind of dreams that I have. I always tell people, I sell my dreams on a PowerPoint presentation. And the dream was to ride on the road of bulls. And I came across a couple of boys from Bangalore, Sudhir and Dilip, who were trying to do a longer trip. And we coordinated, we put a plan in place wherein we would start from Uzbek. The initial plan was to start from Tajik, but Tajik did not have the bandwidth to, take 3 motorcycles into Dushanbe. So we had to move the airport, and the nearest international airport was in Uzbekistan, the Tashkent. So, when we approached Bajaj, they took some time, 2017, sometime 2016, the proposal was with them. We went back and forth, and sometime in March, Mr. Tandon sends me a message, we are on, with a thumbs up.
Lovely.
And the rest is history. I mean, the Odysseys began with the Trans-Siberian, wherein I led my team across Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, Russia, and eventually riding on the Road of Bones, those 3,000 kilometers, before consciously taking a detour at Kubeme and wanting to do the old summer road, went all the way 156 kilometers into Tomtor. But after that, the kind folks, the friends in Russia that we had made, heavily urged us not to try to move beyond Tomtor to Kadikchan, because that 256 kilometers was absolutely ruthless. You need to have a buggy backup. You need to have rifles, because to avoid the grizzlies and wild dogs, and you needed to have support to cross the fast-flowing river streams. The 156 kilometers that we did was like absolutely ruthless. There were no roads. Roads were washed out. I mean, we've shared these videos. We've really showcased our 156 kilometers. We've glorified the 156 kilometers the way we wanted, because 3 guys on 400cc machines, and not the adventure kind of machine the world thinks one needs.
True. Yes.
And with the right amount of power. I mean, you've been riding too, Vikas.
Yeah.
So what is it that you think you need? What's the speed that you guys do even on a Russian highway, one of the best in the world? What speed do you think? Because there is a speed gun waiting for you.
Yeah.
And the speed limit in Russia is 90. You can move to 100. Anything beyond that, you're gonna be pulled over. And the Dom does 100, 110 bindas.
Effortless. Absolutely. Yes. I
So
agree.
Trans-Siberian was absolutely, we did about 45 days, 16,500 kilometers across these 6 countries. And we came back to a thundering applause from the company, and Mr. Eric was, who was the president motorcycles with Bajaj, and Mr. Manish Tandon, and the entire, we got congratulatory messages coming our way, flooded with messages. And there was a news conference, massive news conference held to showcase this achievement. And that is the time when Mr. Vaz said, if there's one place that I would like my Dominars to go, would be on the flight path of the Condor. 17th of November, 2017, I remember this date. That evening at the hotel, Mr. Vaz tells me that if there's one place in this world that I would like to take my Dominars, would be on the flight path of the Condor. That evening, I did not sleep, because I didn't know what a Condor was. The next morning at the office, armed with all the knowledge that I could gather about a Condor and the flight path of the Condor, I told Mr. Vaz, we are anyway in California. The Condor is a species of bird which is referred to as the titan of the skies, with 9 feet of wings spanning end to end. And the Californian condor eventually flies into the Andes and also creates a second subspecies, which is the Andean condor.
Wow.
So we are going to North America, and we are coming down to South America. So why don't I give you a larger plan wherein I land the Dominars in Anchorage, go all the way up to the Arctic, come down to the US or, touch. I mean, Canada was not on the radar in the initial plan, but I created a plan later for Canada. And then hook up on the Pan American Highway and go down all the way on the flight path of the Condor into Mexico, then all the LATAM countries, and then cross over into South America and then into the Andes. And then I will take my motorcycle all the way down to Ushuaia, which will be the southernmost tip of the world. The approvals came in no time because the confidence of the dominars were there. And I'm a person, I always tell people, give me a challenge that I cannot refuse.
True. Yeah.
So I took about 6 months to put a plan together. And at that time, when the Benelli came in, I was using hashtags couple goals and couple travel, encouraging the community to, travel with their better halves if they are married, or a girlfriend if they are steady with, and vice versa. The reason I say this because when I was working, and I used to work the graveyard shift, in the IT world, the graveyard shift is, like you log in at around 9, 10 and then work the whole night because you're supporting your US clients. And I used to see a lot of rift because, girls who were working, they were married, husbands at home, the girl in the office. So, the weekly offs were also not syncing with each other to, to match, time together. So, divorces and extramarital affairs. These were things that were really, right in front of me. So,
True.
my wife is a housewife, so I've had the liberty of, encouraging her to join me in my rides, and I started using the hashtags couple goals, couple travels. And I proposed this to the Bajaj guys, saying that, I would like to have my wife join me on this Polar Odyssey.
Yeah.
And they agreed. And one of my team member, Vinash, I encouraged him to get his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And couple goals, couple travels, and 3 dominars, landing in Anchorage, taking on to the Dalton Highway, dipping our feet in the Arctic Ocean, coming down, crossing the top of the world highway into Canada, and then taking the lesser known Dempster Highway. Dempster was opened from Inuvik to Tuktoyak to the last 100 kilometers. Was opened only in 2017, and 2018 we were there. And I can boldly tell you, indeed, Deepak and his team were the first ones to reach there. Challenge me, guys. 2018, and on the Dempster Highway. And even people, whenever we used to meet people along the road, we used to tell them, we are from India. Wow, we are riding on 400cc machines. Wow, what? And and then people in the US, unfortunately, this is a sad truth. A lot of people that we met in, usually these are conversation starters in fuel stations because they see 3 small bikes. These guys are used to the big bikes, Harleys and whatnot.
Correct.
And when they see us, and 2 people, on one machine, that really triggered questions because not many people around the world, travel with a pillion. So my wife was with me. She did about 19,000 kilometers. We landed her in Vancouver and crossed over into Montana, took the I-80 across towards Michigan, then crossed over into Canada again to watch the beautiful Niagara Falls from the Canadian side, and then ride into New York, and then head west again towards Tennessee and Dallas and all the way to San Francisco, and from there she flies back home. And then I drive my team all the way down to Cabo San Lucas, the southernmost tip in the Californian Baja, and then ship across into mainland Mexico, into Topolobampo, and then hook up on the Pan American Highway across the LATAM countries, fly from Panama into Bogota, and then start a leg 4 across Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, do the death road, the 265 kilometers of death road. Death road is just not 65 kilometers. And then come down to Chile. Again, we are maintaining the Andes. And in California, I made sure I went into San Diego and understood the breeding that they have revived the condor. And I also made a donation in name of Bajaj for their efforts. What used to be about
Lovely.
80 birds, they have scaled it up to about 500 plus. And the efforts are ongoing. And because we were, from India, and I had been coordinating with the people in San Diego, we were given the special liberty of taking us into the breeding zone, seeing the birds in, the babies, the eggs, and how the babies are being fed. I mean, it is an experience that I will always remember. And the kind folks in the San Diego Zoo who allowed this deviation for 3 Indians riding on, the 400cc machines, and flight path of the condor became the Polar Odyssey. And then the kind folks in Bajaj, I said, hey guys, this has been a beautiful ride. 51,000 kilometers across 15 countries. They cannot be 15 plus or 14 plus. If you are riding, you need to have the number of countries on your fingertips.
Correct.
15 countries, 51,000 kilometers, 99 days on the road, and 117 days in all. That's the statistics of the Polar Odyssey. We were fast. Unfortunately, because, see, when I sell my dream on a PowerPoint presentation, it's always a machine first. I need to put the product first. My dreams can take a back seat, but it's always visualizing how am I able to tell you how good or bad your product is. We had a lot of people who joined in. Positive feedback is shared with the rest of the world. The negative or scope for improvement always goes back to the supporter. And it is up to them whether they want to do it or not. That's not my problem. But for having helped me realize my dream in your way, I would tell you, hey, these are the good points, the pros, but here are the cons. Probably you may want to, because a grueling test of 51,000 kilometers in 99 days is something not everybody would do every day. You get my point, right?
Absolutely.
And when I spoke to Bajaj about, this was discussed well ahead the Polar Odyssey was even started, that I will take my motorcycle to Antarctica. And when as I was reaching Ushuaia, I re-triggered this conversation. And the dream fell in place. Bajaj Dominar became the first Indian motorcycle, first and only Indian motorcycle until 2018 to have landed in Antarctica absolutely unsupported. It was just my motorcycle and me with Rusark, who helped me take my motorcycle across the South Shetland Islands, gave me 5 beautiful landings. And because there is a environmental treaty in place, I was not allowed to ride everywhere, but Bellingshausen base, which is the largest base of Russia, coordinated with the General Artigas base of Uruguay, which is about 4 kilometers apart. And they figured out the required permission. It was slightly snowing. Antarctica is Antarctica. It's the white continent. It's not called for nothing. It was minus 22. And I was just not prepared. I mean, I was there for a picture. I wanted to land my motorcycle, take a picture, move the bike here and there and come back. But no, my captain went beyond, spoke to the, team in Bellingshausen. Bellingshausen spoke to General Artigas. And this mad lunatic Indian is riding in Antarctica and, with a pillion, with my captain sitting behind me so that I don't get lost between these 2 bases. That's a magical ride. I mean, I still get goosebumps every time I think about it.
And in minus 20...
There was minus 22 became minus 35 because by the time we came back, there was a snowstorm and everything is recorded. I mean, I have footage.
And the Dominar started in the first crank?
Absolutely. I mean, that is recorded. Absolutely. And, there was no special preparation. I still have those tires on my wall here, the tires that rode on Antarctica. We didn't do anything special. There were no buttons. I mean, I was not really prepared. I mean, that kind of thing fell into my lap. I mean, this is where one should really be looking around. The opportunities come unannounced.
True.
Are you prepared? You should always be, because these are opportunities that are once in a lifetime. You miss that, it's never in a lifetime. Take it from me. And then they said, like you can go around the Bellingshausen base. I went to the Orthodox Church. I went to few signpost markers. I was very clearly told the Chinese base is adjacent, and the only demarcation between Russia and China is just a set of stones. So please don't cross that side. So all this was told to me, and I was just, like, I did about 11, 12 kilometers. And I think those have been the best miles that I've put in my entire. Who gets these
So
kind
I
of things?
have couple of questions, because here the most interesting thing that I want to know is, how did the Domina perform in -20, -35 degrees Celsius? Because
See, minus
uh,
22 became minus 35. And
yeah,
it's, see, the bike had not started ever since it was loaded in Ushuaia across the Drake Passage, and the bike was unloaded in Deception Island, Enterprise Island, a couple of other places. I'm not able to
All right.
recollect those.
hmm,
I really apologize for not getting the names at this point. But when it came across to starting, when it came to Bellingshausen, and it was about 7 days, 7, 8, 9 days since the bike had not started. And all the time, the
oh,
bike was in about -10, -12. And fuel too was, like whatever was there. I didn't do anything special. The bike is standing in Ushuaia. Hey, tomorrow the bike needs to be loaded. Okay, so ride it, and just there was hardly any time to prepare the machine for what was in front of me.
got
The
it.
bike actually started at the very first crank, and I have this on. I mean,
At -20.
this it was about -12 or -10 or whatever. The
Yeah,
snowflakes were there, but
correct.
when the actual ride started, the temperature chart inside Bellingshausen base was reading -22, and after we came back, the first thing that I saw is -35. So I
Wow.
assumed that whatever was inside was captured outside, and that was reading inside. So. Uh, Yeah, I mean, the road that was visible was completely gone, and if not for my captain was trying to, there are wooden pole markers to tell you what the road is. So we had noticed that, and we kind of went up to General Artigas, spent about an hour with them, enjoyed their hospitality of cookies and coffee, and we were
I would like to
literally.
know, how did you feel as a human at -35?
It's mind over matters. I always tell people, and this is a great experience and learning from the National Cadet Corps days. It's all mind over matters. I was wearing a North Face blouse, which is for 5 degrees, nothing in the minus, and I'm wearing gumboots, and I'm just wearing my uh, riding jacket, and I have
Thank
2 layers of
Captain Daniel.
t-shirts on me.
You really made it happen for me.
So
Vikas, what I'm
no
trying to
special
Vikas, what I'm
heating,
trying to
heated
tell you here
grips.
is
Yeah,
I was definitely not
Has
prepared
actually gone
got it.
what
up
came
from
my
the
way.
Russian base
And the
to
captain
the
said,
movement
see, what
base
happens is,
and
whenever
back
you
in
dock,
absolute snowy conditions.
few meters
And not
away
a single
from the
instance of
shore,
dropping the
and
bike.
then you
And
move
between
from the
two of
boat to the
Captain
shore on a
Daniel
Zodiac.
and myself
So that's a
going up
considerable
and
amount of
down.
time between
Pivot,
the shore and
pivot.
to where the boat is anchored. So when I came down to Bellingshausen, there was no talk of riding to the General Artigas. So the weather looked nice, and little snowflakes. So I was kind of acclimatized to that cold. But when I was actually told that there is an opportunity to ride from here to there, is when the dynamics changed. And I was so excited looking at the dynamics, I completely forgot, or it really did not matter to me as to what am I wearing and can I really bear this. No,
Yeah.
I don't. I was absolutely comfortable in whatever and whichever way I did. And it really did not impact my approach.
Yeah.
And
So
that
you are
is
saying
really.
that as a human, if we have our mind together, we can handle even extreme temperatures like minus 35 with basic
Take
level
the,
of,
take this
gear.
from me.
Yeah.
Take this from me. Think you can do it. Half the battle is
True.
won.
Very well said. Yes.
You know.
A
See,
funny thing I want to ask.
thermals are important. I mean, I wouldn't really encourage people to take unwanted challenges.
Yeah.
For us, like it was more of a 4 kilometer ride from point to point, and probably we would have spent about 20-25 minutes between these two bases. So in the excitement and the heat of things, and like one hand always near the engine to warm up, these are things that like one should be conscious. Like how else do you think you can keep yourself comfortable?
So I have a funny question here. That is, people are obsessed with heated grips on their motorcycles. Whenever they buy a high-end motorcycle,
What are those?
the first thing that they say, oh, this got heated grips. So did you ever miss heated grips
I don't know what
on
they
this
are.
ride? Excellent.
Yeah, I do a lot of shopping in the US, and honestly, to tell you the truth, that was one of the option. But too many electronics on your motorcycle actually
True.
is. I mean, for me, I'm a carburetor guy. You give me a machine with a carburetor, I'm most happy. I'm not a grease monkey, but then like I can make things work. And to questions about performance, it's a machine. You need to give it its time, the downtime to
Correct.
maintain it. Otherwise, the bike's gonna stall in the midst of nowhere, and then you have a problem on your hands. So I believe, like in today's world, when people say my bike broke down here, I mean, I can only think of, like not having given appropriate, attention. I must tell you this, I mean, and I think Dominar, went on to make it one of their highlight features, that this no breakdown on the Trans-Siberian, no breakdown on the Polar, and
Yeah.
no breakdown on my Afro-European, and a few other people who did, a couple of more Odysseys on the DOM, even
Yeah.
they claim to have no breakdown. So I mean, definitely the machine is undoubtedly awesome. I mean, no challenges about it, but it
I
requires
vouch for the
change
Dominar.
sprocket, suspension.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all maintenance things on the go. I mean, the engine itself is absolutely brilliant.
True. True.
Yeah.
I vouch for the Dominar for sure. The longest ride I did on the Dominar was from Bhutan all the way till Calcutta with XBHP, and absolutely loved riding the motorcycle. And people were riding the same Dominar before me during that trip, and I continued riding, and there was absolutely no issue whatsoever. Not with the
Absolutely, yeah.
braking, not with the engine, not with any of the components. So, yep,
I'll go with you on that.
yeah.
I
mean,
think I would have,
have a person.
I would have put in about 200,000 kilometers on the DOM, of course, across
Yeah.
3 machines. And for me, it's been brilliant. I mean, except that the new gen DOM that came in had a heavier front with the upside down
Yeah.
forks. I was happy with the
Correct.
telescopic because that was easily flickable. I mean, like I really enjoyed the 17 and 18 versions.
Correct.
The latest one was a little top heavy, but they are fueling my dreams, so why not?
Yeah. Another thing that I would like to mention, the fun fact is that people generally start from a smaller motorcycle and keep upgrading. They go up to 1,000 plus. I started, riding very passionately on bigger motorcycles. If people watch my videos way back in 2013, I was riding the Yamaha R1. I was riding other super bikes. And only recently, in the last 6 years or so, I have, as a matter of fact, downgraded and started to enjoy motorcycles of our own country.
Yeah.
And motorcycles like the Dominar and even other brands. Today, even a 200cc motorcycle produced by, like the X-Pulse or any other motorcycle is so capable. And even maintaining these motorcycles is so efficient and economical compared to any of the big cc motorcycles. So we are in a great era. If we keep aside that emotional satisfaction that hey, I'm riding a 1000 cc or a 750 cc or a
And half the
1200
time though,
cc.
half the time that motorcycle will be on a tow truck.
I mean,
I went on
mo-
record,
yeah.
Bulu is a great friend, and, like, we had a very
Mm.
candid chat. And I went ahead and told, it created a little, not little, it created a lot of ripple, when I said, like, for a country like mine, I don't
Yeah.
need a machine which is more than 400, 450. That's it.
Absolutely. I
Anything
agree.
more than that is a luxury that this country does not require. I mean, world over. I mean, even in the US, the maximum speed is 70 miles per hour.
Yeah.
And in some cases on the interstates, like it's about 90 miles per hour. And the dog can do it. I mean, I've got footage of, like I'm head and head with the truck which is doing about 110 miles. Or
Correct.
probably 90
Correct.
miles or 100 miles, something like that. But then, like
Yeah.
I'm there, I'm head on. I mean, he's in one lane, I'm on one lane with my wife, and, like we are greeting each other like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
150
and
kilometers per hour is easy cruise speed of the
yeah,
Dominar.
anything more than that you don't need. I mean, like you
True.
have a great amount of torque. I mean, like
Yeah.
we have pulled the machine out of some absolutely slushy roads.
Yes.
And if it is a big bike, like a 300 kilo bike, call it tow truck. And take it to
Yeah.
beautiful locations and start pasting pictures and stickers of having gone there, been there, done that. Hey, my bike is in the truck and I'm here doing this and that. By which time I must emphasize here that I ended up being the first and the only Indian to have traveled across all the 7 continents on my own motorcycle. Now, that is something I'm very proud of.
Yeah.
And both YesD and Bajaj Dominar ended up helping me realize my dream. And I
Yeah.
remain in gratitude in such a way that I got both their tattoos done,
Oh, wow.
YesD and the Dom.
Yeah.
And all my motorcycles have been MEY 3442. Yeah. So Polar Odyssey happened then uh, 2019, January 1st. I landed my motorcycle in Antarctica, came back. COVID happened. And that put a break on another beautiful project that I was working, was the Euro-African Odyssey, which was initially conceptualized to ride from the northernmost tip of Europe to the southernmost tip of Africa.
Yeah.
But then 2020 gave me an opportunity to use the just then launched KTM 390 and do my own country, the Four Corners, which was originally a plan of a good friend, Rajesh from Pune. But he joined me few in the initial stages, but then he had to step back due to personal emergencies. And I went on to complete the Four Corners of this country. And amidst all this, I was continuously trying to reach out to the Ministry of External Affairs, trying to help me get a break in reaching
Yeah.
to the embassies, who were only issuing business visas. 2020 was
Yeah.
also limited to tourist travel.
Yeah.
And magic happened when friends who were trying to help me, Chinmay Nadig and Rishivans Raghavan here in Bangalore, connected me to the office of our own Member of Parliament, Mr. Tejasvi Surya. And his office set up a meeting with him. And he heard my story about wanting to do Africa and Europe. It was still Europe and Africa. And his office, with the appropriate recommendations, connected me to the Ministry of External Affairs. This was August of 2021. Now, this is really
right.
interesting. August 2021 and November 2021, November 23rd, my wife and me are flying to Durban. So something that I had been chasing for 1.5 years, In a matter of 2.5 months, like I had my required visas. Now, this is again planning. I mean, motorcycle
Yeah.
riding is no big deal. I mean, today, you will see a lot of people riding motorcycles, even kids, like though they don't have a license, they do ride,
Yeah.
some jazzy, fancy motorcycles within the community compound. So riding a motorcycle, take it from me, guys, it's not a big deal. But the maintenance, the logistics, the documentation,
Correct.
the preparations, I mean, these are things that can make or break
The process.
anything. And I believe I'm there. I've evolved, I've made my mistakes, I've learned from my mistakes. And I've built machines that have taken my tantrums and taken me to places wherever I want. I mean,
Yeah.
I will not compromise in saying that, hey, that's a road my machine cannot take. No, my machine can do it. Give me a road and I'm ready there. So Mr. Tejasvi Surya's office came to my rescue, and things happened. I would say magic happened with this person's involvement, and the undersecretaries of different regions of the continent reached out to me. They wrote to the embassies. Embassies reached out to me. I'm a classic example. I'm a proud Indian and a classic example
Yep.
of
Yep.
of getting absolutely visas, like post-dated visas, year-long visas.
Wow.
I mean, like today, the Minister of External Affairs and our PR of our country, led by our Prime Minister, is so strong. And I compare this for my 1994, where every border we were stopped. Kitna, how many dollars do you have? Where are you going? Where is your address? I mean, so many 100 questions at the immigration borders. But today, the blue passport is so much respected and so powerful.
True.
And I will take this opportunity to place my thanks to the vast diplomatic community which welcomed me and which put so many, protocols in place, opening up borders when nobody else was allowed to, cross borders.
Yeah.
And Euro-African eventually became Afro-European because of the time that I would start. This would start from the southernmost tip of the African continent and along the western corridor, about 20 countries that I did. And my wife and me celebrated 25 years of our marriage in Cape Hagulas,
Lovely.
the southernmost tip of the African continent.
Wow.
We landed at the time of Omicron. Borders were, the 5 countries' borders were still intact, open, but no tourists were allowed. But I was like there because of the support from the Ministry of External Affairs and the diplomats' intervention. My wife flew back. She was supposed to fly to London, but she was repatriated from Johannesburg back to Delhi. And I was all alone on this trip across, South Africa, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia to Angola to DRC, DRC to Cameroon, RC to Cameroon, Cameroon to Nigeria, Nigeria to Benin, Togo, Ghana into Ivory Coast into Guinea,
Wow.
Guinea
Wow.
Conakry, Guinea Conakry to Mauritania, Senegal, Gambia.
I'll not even be able to remember all the names. So-
There's a nice video of mine, like when one of my sponsors was TVS Eurogrip alongside Bajaj. And they went ahead and rolled out a very beautiful video on World Motorcycling Day where I'm, like just hammering out the names that we've done. And I got my wife back into Morocco. And from Morocco, we did about 26 countries of Europe and finally reached the northernmost tip of the European continent, that's Nordkap. That was 39 countries, 57,600 kilometers, almost 6 months on the road, 6 or more months on the road. And that has been a magical ride for me. Africa has been very dear. I mean, because of the challenges that it posed. And as fluently, I was crossing borders, thanks to Mr. Tejasvi Surya's timely intervention, the Ministry of External Affairs, and all the diplomats along the road. And so many Indians, let me not forget that. Whenever I fly a tricolor across each borders, today I'm 79 countries across all the 7 continents. And I can proudly and very passionately tell you that I'm the only Indian to have done that. Now challenge me.
Absolutely.
And of course,
Lovely.
I have 8 of the 10 most dangerous roads under my belt. Not many people know this. It's not really important to brag everything on social media. There's something for personal gratification as well,
True.
right? I mean, as I said initially, like I sell my dreams on a PowerPoint presentation, but there are so many hidden things which I would never say because of fear that, like my sponsor might take a back step. Not with Bajaj. Bajaj said, like, okay, the confidence was intact. And they knew that if there's anybody who can deliver Africa, that would be Deepak. And I did. I gave it on a platter. Thankfully, the Indian diplomats were so much guiding me across every country. Don't go here, go here. I mean, that's the kind of support system was in place. As I said, riding a bike is no big deal. Let's not make a biggie show of it.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've not categorized those 10 most dangerous road in the world. The Overlanders have. And I use that as a reference to, personally feel satisfied that, hey, this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done. Hey, I don't see Debster Highway anywhere because it's definitely one amongst the top 4 of the most dangerous roads in the world. So I've done that too. So 8 or 9 of the world's most dangerous is done.
Wow. So when we say dangerous,
It's like,
is it because of
you have wildlife, you have the roads that are so damn tricky, wherein, like your tactical skills need to be 100% there. That's where I would say, like, oh, you need to know riding a motorcycle. And you need to have a light bike. I mean, people I've seen, they put it on a truck and go there and take a picture and, like make so much of noise. Guys, stop. First
I
of
have
all,
completely
know your roads.
always. Yeah.
First of all, know your roads and then work backwards. There are people cycling in this world, and I really have the highest amount of respect. Because I've been there,
Correct.
1989, I was trying to cycle around the world and reached up to Rome, and I said, boss, this is not my cup of cake. Because my cycle was stolen. I mean, I was in a mess. So it's better to gracefully come back into your home.
Yeah.
And then, like figure out, like what next. And then the motorcycle came and the rest is history, right? So, I mean, we no matter, see, if you're riding only on the highways, then, like any damn bike, you might as well, even on good roads, people I've seen, and people make tall claims as being the first Indian there, first Indian there, first Indian there, boss. Talk to me, first talk to me. Just because I've not been telling people and I'm not that popular on social media, having millions of followers, doesn't mean that there are no Indians. And there are Indians who have before me have done it. But 1994 fastest, no, the buck stops here. But going to places where you think that you are the first one, slow down, slow down. You may be doing it from south to north or north to south, but the road is global. It's planet Earth.
Yes.
And an Indian, let's not fight about it. I mean, like you may be from some state. Let's not make state. When you cross borders, you are an Indian. Period.
Correct.
People ask me, where are you from? I'm from India. Nobody knows I'm from Bangalore. No, that's irrelevant.
Yes.
Absolutely irrelevant.
Correct.
And my round the world was back when I was 24. And whatever age I am, that really doesn't matter. It's the spirit of adventure, and you do it in the spirit of adventure. We Indians should learn that. I have made tall claims, and sometimes I feel ashamed that I should not have been doing that. And I've learned from my mistakes. We all learn from mistakes. I'm not saying I've not done mistakes. I've gone about and telling the world I'm the first fastest Indian to go around the world on a motorcycle. Now, I look back at those days, it was the Josh. But I believe there was an opportunity for me to enjoy the world. And I kind of screwed it by just riding. The global average was 833 kilometers across 47 days. In any country, the longest, in the US, we did 1,645 kilometers in 17 hours. And I have a log to prove that. Then came the iron butt and sore butt and whatnot. We have done that in 1994. I have a log to say that we did 1,645 kilometers in there. But does it hold any value for me now? No.
Correct.
Yeah. So I feel sad when, people, start making claims and where are we heading? What are we doing? Let's fly a tricolor and be happy that there is one more Indian who's doing that. Let's say that.
Correct.
Hey, one more Indian is
Correct.
doing it.
Correct.
Let's cheer for that kind of a. There's a tricolor flying again. I mean, one of my hashtags that I use is adventures beyond boundaries. I encourage people from my country to, just because I get sponsored, let that not be a dampener. As I said, I sell my dreams on a PowerPoint presentation, and nothing is stopping anybody from selling their dreams too. And if a corporate or if any company is keen to support your dreams, so be it.
Correct.
Enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Do a right the way you think it's right, and just don't go about making claims that I'm the first, putting a sticker there. Boss, we are there. We've already been there, and somebody before us were also there. When I pasted my sticker at Dead Horse, Sanjay Madan of Overlanders, Adventure Overland or Overland Adventure. Sanjay reached out to me saying that, hey, thank you, I see my sticker in your video. He's a person who's been organizing overlanding from India to London for many, many years. You know, they hire cars or take their cars and, take Indians around the world, people who can afford his pricing. They do these trips every year.
Yeah.
And there were Indians before me in Dead Horse. I acknowledge that. And he was happy that, I was able to get his sticker in my video. So let's appreciate that as Indians, we need to break this, the brag about I'm the first, I'm the first, I'm the first. Talk to me. 79 countries.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beautifully said, Deepak sir, that it is always, such a united feeling to say that, hey, another Indian has visited this place, which is a very tough place to go. Instead of saying that first only Indian,
It's like, I'm begging da, I'm begging da, I'm begging da. These guys are literally, the YouTube culture has ruined the flavor of adventure. And in the last couple of days, I've been, my closest friends who have been traveling with me on my adventures virtually, they have shared some very disturbing claims about people, and that is definitely not appreciated. And when I reshare my stories, telling that, hey, slow down. If it's records, we really need to take people head on,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, rogue elements, the kind of messages, the hate messages that, I got into my mail and my feed and messages and trying to, it's a disgrace to you. It's not to me.
Yeah.
I care 2 cents about, you and your people. But then it's very disturbing to see where are we headed with this social media. Just because,
So I would like to know, because this is indeed a matter of concern, because whenever we raise a topic on the social media platforms with regards to, it could be anything, we are blown a whistle or we are asking a question. Now, just like what you mentioned, that hate messages, personal direct attacks are executed. Now, I would like to know, in your case, did it happen from the fan following of a few people, or
no, the person in question himself started it. I would say he's the main instigator. Just because you have a few million followers, these guys are all blind followers. Does anybody even see what the other world is doing? It's very sad, and then the hashtags and tagging me on his hate videos. Let me tell you, every service has got a cost. Just because I do it doesn't mean that I give you my references free of cost. There is a cost because I have incurred that. There is a charge that, I wish. I'm a consultant. I'm not a guy who's giving free advice. If you really require my services, you really require me to assist you in any way, there's always a cost because you are using my time. And I'm vela nahi beta hu main yahan pe. I'm not sitting idle and, at your disposal anytime. You be serious about what you want to do. I'm a consultant. I'm going to bridge you. And I'm going to ensure that I stay true to what I've said. Just because I ask a service charge doesn't make me any other person other than a motorcyclist. I'm still a motorcyclist, but in case you want my references, it's coming to you at a cost. And I think I'm being very fair in saying this. I don't think I'm doing anything different in any time. Today, you go to a Ladakh trip, you pay for services, right? You rent a motorcycle, absolutely, you rent a motorcycle, there is a cost to it. Because that cost includes a ride captain who is responsible for your safety and your entire trip. Isn't that a service charge?
I would like to
isn't that-
support. Yeah, I would like to support what you're saying by simply saying one line. Whenever people say that, hey, I'm riding motorcycles only because of my passion, I'm not here for monetary reasons, then why are you running a YouTube channel?
Absolutely. And
that.
why are you begging people to follow you? I mean, a lot of people ask me,
Yeah.
how many followers do you have on Instagram? How many followers do you have on YouTube? I said, I don't know. I've lost sponsorships because I don't have the kind of following numbers. Those Excel sheet numbers really, I'm a young timer, I've been writing even Microsoft before Microsoft was born. Let me put it that way. Even before Google was born.
Yeah.
For me, this technology thing is, like a little far off places. And when machines come to me with the little bit of electronics, I'm the most happiest because I know I can fix it. I don't need a tow truck to take it from point A to point B and take a picture and, tell the world I've done this and that. Boss, you are riding machines that are able to go on any part of the world or any kind of terrain, and you still dare to put your machine on a tow truck. What kind of a rider are you? What kind of an adventurer are you guys?
It is
sad.
It is their business. It is YouTube. Monetized videos are the biggest kind of business that we can talk about.
Is there any way to stop it? I mean, my government did a great thing by banning TikTok, and thankfully,
Correct.
we are good.
True.
Today TikTok has ruined the world. And I hope there are some checks and measures coming into this world of YouTubes and Instagrams and social media platforms where people do some ridiculous things for monetary gains, for views and, whatnot. And these fan following are bloody useless. I mean, they don't have an iota of thinking. They don't really have a single, a thought that what are these? I mean, the kind of hate messages that I got was like absurd. Not that it scares me. I'm going to go one step forward and I've been telling you what I've been telling. And this should be made public. This should go and reach more people.
Yeah.
That, these kind of riders who go on social media platforms and literally beg people to follow them. Just because you guys ride a big bike and go to places by shipping it from putting it in a truck from one point into another doesn't make you an overlander, man. Come on. Face it.
True. Absolutely.
And I believe these are the people who are ruining dreams of lot many people like me. I've done what I have to do. I can take a back seat. I can fund my own travels. Now I can. But there are so many people who reach out to me. Deepak sir, I would like to do this. Can you connect me to some people who can sponsor? So I tell them the challenges that I'm facing. How many people do you have on YouTube? How many people do you have on Instagram? How much, what are your insights of your, these are questions. These are ridiculous.
Correct.
And I blame these kind of people, who've been making a lot of useless noise on the social media, bragging about things that what generally good hardcore adventurer and an overlander should be doing. These guys are not really worth it. Absolutely worthless people. Take it from me. Absolutely useless.
I understand. Yeah. Wow.
I'm sorry, I'm losing a little bit of a cool when these kind of
No,
things come up.
not at all.
It really
You've been
disturbs
extremely
my
cool.
mind as to, where are we heading? The international friends that I have been commenting on pages in support of me. The kind of language that these guys use is horrendous.
Yeah. Here I would like to, say one quick thing that the person in question, I know him personally. Okay, both of them, as a matter of fact. The person from Bombay, the person from Tamil Nadu, I know both of them personally. The only 2 cents that I would like to put forward is that uh, when you mentioned, that, okay, so and so claim about being the first person is not correct from their side. So if they could have responded in a more dignified manner, they could have said, oh, all right, uh, fine, you're saying this, but I also have something to say from my side. There could have been a dialogue, but the way it was responded to was very what to say, uh, low class, to say the least.
Well, because
So
let
yeah.
me tell you, it's not that these guys are not aware. You know, this Mumbai guy would definitely have seen comments from people who know me from my Polar Odyssey. They have
Yeah.
commented on his videos. So isn't he being ignorant?
Yeah, he would.
Right?
Yeah.
So gracefully, he could have actually changed the clickbait. I mean, I came to know that these are all clickbaits. So
Correct.
because I shared
Correct.
it, like his views would have gone up, his commenting would have gone up, he
Correct.
would have earned a few more $100 or more. That really
Yeah.
doesn't bother me. But then, like he could have actually made sure that, like he came up with a, additional comment, or, I mean, he could have done anything to say that, like, hey, this was my oversight. We could
Correct.
have, that would have been more professional and true to being a good motorcyclist. And this guy from Chennai, I mean, absolutely ridiculous. He's got the audacity to edit his, whatever, and make that, 27-year-old riding from, south to north, whatever. He says 15 plus countries. Don't you have a number of the countries that you're traveling? Don't you know how many numbers? It's either 15 or 16 or 14. It can't be 15 plus when you're doing a ride in the Americas, right? So you need to get your facts right. And you need to make sure that when there is a comment, you need to gracefully handle it. And it's not that, like he approached me when he wanted to do Antarctica, and that's when, like I said, like, I'm going to charge you 2% service charge on the total cost. Is it wrong? I don't think it's wrong. I'm a consultant, for goddamn sake. You can't expect any free service when, I have spent my time, my blood and sweat on these projects. It doesn't come easy. You may be earning some shitload of money from your YouTube channels, but then doesn't make me and you any different. My fuel is my sponsors. Your fuel is your YouTube. But do it gracefully. Why are you cheating and deceiving people by giving all useless clickbait numbers? I am begging you, da, I'm begging you, da, and like, follow me, da, for YouTube. What in the world is this? How do you even conceptualize these approaches? I mean, I really don't want to dig deep into it, but I believe these people are an absolute disgrace to the motorcycling world of our country. You fly my tricolor with honor. You take the support of corporates who are ready to fund your dreams. And if you're able to do it on your own, there are people. I have messages in my inbox, Deepak sir, this is I've done in 2019. I know I've gone there after you, but I wanted to share this message with you. Great. Congratulations. Your frame is as beautiful as, as it should be, amongst one of the most beautiful locations in the world. Would I not do that? And if you know that I've done on that road and you still go about trying to challenge me, then it's not done. It's in absolute poor taste. And then you tag your group and they send me hate messages. Where are we heading? What are we doing? And the international world of motorcyclists are looking at these guys, this thing, the language. It's a shame to my country that we have such nuts who are taking the, support of being a keyboard warrior. I call these nuts as keyboard warriors, nothing more. And I think, I don't really want to get into any kind of a comparison with these guys because they are nowhere close to me. I know for a fact that be it my accomplishments that I have had over the years, I gracefully acknowledge the kind of support that I've got from my friends, my family, the support of sponsors, the government, the diplomats, international, Indians who have stayed on my road. The kind of support is absolutely gratifying. Yeah. Well, I'm sure I've stirred a hornet's nest in the last part of this conversation. But the truth is what I've said. If there is anything that needs to be changed, somebody should reach out to me and say that, hey, you're wrong. I will apologize. Prove me wrong.
Yeah. I mean, only a person who is strong and who has enough maturity can ever apologize. The weak can't apologize.
We learn from mistakes, Vikas. It's not that I've
Yeah,
not done
yeah.
mistakes in my life. I have. But we evolve, we acknowledge the mistake, we learn from a mistake and try to
Yes.
do things differently.
Yes.
And if it gets into your head that, like you are the one and the only one, then you have let down yourself greatly in front of so many other people. And unfortunately, today's keyboard warriors will never understand that.
Yeah.
My only suggestion and request to the fellow community of motorcycle riders, I have done mistake of going around the world in 47 days. I don't like it. If I have to look back, this is 30 years. It's 30 years.
Correct.
And a lot of people would not have been born. I mean, I can tell you,
True.
probably the parents were not married or either they were in gestation or whatever. And whenever I tell people that, like I went around the world in 1994, a lot of people say, sir, I was not even born. I was
Yeah,
4
true.
years. I was 2 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is gracefully acknowledged. Yes. I mean, see, I dreamt big. And right from Baman's days and late Tempton Irani's days, Ideal Java days, I mean, those were, my friend Akash, we've really had a great time, if not for the support system. And then, you can call me an opportunist. I still say that, for whatever reasons, Shumi has locked me out of his social media hands. I don't want to know why. But first thing I came back after my Odyssey, I met him in Bombay. I said, thank you. I'm, Mr. Manish Tandon. And there are people, I call him as my godfather in my world of adventures. I went on record. I've said this in so many places. People who understand my wavelength, think of the unthinkable and Deepak is there. Been there, done that. But how many people know what have I done? Because it really doesn't matter here. I say sometimes, reach out to me, guys. Whenever I find time, I do respond. But in case you are making a world trip on a bloody 1200 or a whatever GS thing, you have the money. And if you're ready to spend, boss, I'm there to provide you my services.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I don't see anything wrong because I'm a registered consultant with the GST number.
Absolutely. See, the moment you have a monetized YouTube channel, you are a
one
businessman.
amongst us.
Yeah, you are
Absolutely.
a businessman, So, that's not charity what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
Yep. Lovely. Wow, what a conversation. So
I
is
just
like,
hope that this last part of the conversation does not take precedence because these are trivial matters to me.
True.
The world has been so beautiful. The people have been so nice. The roads have been so welcoming. These are things that let's appreciate. Let's take 2 steps back and see how big, beautiful this world is.
Yeah.
And I wish that, more and more Indians, attempt to travel outside, even if it is in smaller pockets, not as, I do encourage people to explore every means. When people ask me, I always tell them that, I'm an overlander. I'm not a motorcyclist. I'm not a motorcycle adventurer. Whatever people call me, I'm an overlander first. Because for me, the closest to my heart is a motorcycle, but then I have cycled. I take a car and drive out. I take a train, a plane, I trek. Everything. The idea is to see this big, beautiful world in whichever way you think you can. That's really important. This should be the essence of this whole conversation. Nothing more, nothing beyond.
Yeah.
And let's not develop hatred amongst us. There's no time for hatred.
True.
But don't try
Agreeing
to instigate
to
people.
disagreeing. Yeah. There's an art There's an old saying, you should learn the art of what is it called? Agree to disagree. So, no, I mean, see, whenever there is a challenging conversation or a questionable situation, people think it is hate. People think it is war. No, I mean, why can't we, in a healthy manner, disagree to something? Correct? In a so
It's pretty shameful. Yeah. Let's move on,
yeah,
Vikas.
yeah, true, true. You know,
Yeah, I think I've made my point. I mean, I can still grill around it, but then it's not
true.
really worth it because these people are never going to understand.
Yeah. I mean, if raising a question becomes a sin, then there is no more discussion left on this planet. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yep.
Super. We've had a lovely chat. I really
Yes.
want to take this opportunity to thank you, Zoe, for this brilliant
Yeah.
opportunity. And I will be open to questions that comes on this
Yes.
forum. And definitely, I will not consider answering any hate comments.
Yeah.
They hold no relevance uh, in my life.
Yeah.
And if there is a guidance sought, I'm happy to. I'm there. India has a probably one of the biggest community of motorcycle riders in the world. I have come across a lot of motorcycle clubs, teams across the world. Nobody emphasizes on the motorcycle brand that they ride. It's more of a
Yeah.
community of brotherhood, which is
Very
something
well
that
said.
we as a country are losing or already have lost it.
Correct.
Thanks to the different brands which are in a nutshell trying to promote their brands and their events. And
Yeah.
we've lost the charm of actual motorcycling. It's only limited to brands that organize these kind of rides. I hope that changes, though I feel it is a distant,
Yes. Yes.
impossible situation. I just hope that riders realize that it's you who matters. The machine is
Correct.
not the matter.
True.
Don't judge your friend by the machine he rides.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
still know friends, like who don't care about what machine I ride, or I know
Yeah.
friends
Yeah.
of their friends, they don't care of what machine they ride. It's still a brotherhood between two people or more, wherein people enjoy the two wheels.
Yeah.
Once a brand sneaks in, then consider it, like you have given yourself up and not really, concentrating on the love of your life. Even today,
Absolutely.
my wife tells me that my first wife are my bikes and she's my second wife. So, I mean, for me, a machine is, I don't name them. For me, it's a 3442. All my bikes are 3442. So it used to be a SD 3442. It's still now, I ride a SD again now. So it's a gifted by Baman. I used to have a Benelli 3442, then the Canyon Red, the white Dominar 3442, the Canyon Red 3442, the Aurora Green 3442. So for me, I've ridden a Kinetic Honda, I've ridden a TVS Fiero. I
Yeah.
mean, these have really kept me on the wheels. But it's
Yes.
me, it's you who's behind the handlebar that really matters, and
Absolutely.
nothing
It's
beyond.
the man behind the machine, old
Always,
saying. Yeah.
always,
Yeah. True.
always.
Lovely, sir. Thank you so much for
Pleasure.
talking to us and inspiring us all the time. And I would like to salute your wife. Let her know that I
Oh
said
yeah,
this.
I mean, like
Yeah.
just for the records, she's having before anybody starts to claim. She's been with me for about 26 countries so far, 26, 28
Lovely.
countries, and over
Yeah.
100,000 kilometers as my pillion. She doesn't ride.
That is a specific factor that I would like to salute her
Yeah.
on, because being a pillion is not easy. It's a very tough job. It's also scary. I get very scared when I'm a pillion on a motorcycle, because we have literally left our life into the hands of someone else. And it can also get boring sometimes. Putting everything into consideration, I salute your wife, and also the fact that when you were buying your Benelli, she was
She's
a
been the
person.
spirit of my madness. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I hope the younger generation gets women like her into their life.
I wish there are more women getting
Yeah.
on with their husbands
True.
to travel. Couple goals, couple
Yes.
travels is an outcome of my travels with my wife. So all the best, guys.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Joe.
Thank you,
Thank you,
buddies.
Vikas.
Yeah.
Thank you.